challenges are good things take time. That's
Yeah.
it. Like good things take time, and it is a process. It's not. It's it's a marathon basically. It's not that quickly that you can just uh, do a project, try to announce it on your LinkedIn, and you're good to go basically, and you have everybody's trust. And it's a little bit. It takes time to do any project, and you have to understand that everybody within the sports industry is very busy, whether it's especially.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Sporting Global podcast. And today I'm here with Alex. And Alex, first of all, how's everything going? And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me, Ole. Everything's great. I'm here in Doha, currently in Qatar, just getting ready for the World Cup.
Right. No, exciting times. How's life in Doha? And what are the I guess some key things you are noticing about like the World Cup coming?
It's the vibes. It's the vibes all around the World Cup. Everybody's super excited about it. All the big brands are coming in, all the football federations.
Right.
Everything is very lively all
Yeah.
around Doha
Nice.
specifically.
Yeah.
And I think it's just an exciting time to be here, seeing a little bit how FIFA and the local organizing committee Q22 is managing the entire situation. I
Right.
think as of right now, it's very exciting to see what is happening all around the
Right.
different activations from all the different sponsors. So learning a lot and working hard.
That's awesome. Happy to hear that, and of course, it's great that you take some time of your day to be on the podcast. We're gonna dive a little bit into your background, some tips, a little bit of what you're working on these days. But why don't you start a little bit about sharing a little bit about how your journey in the sport industry started. Just take us a little bit from how it all began for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's definitely, something that I thought about a lot in terms of getting into the sports
Yeah.
industry in general. I was, a former athlete myself, playing in volleyball specifically between
Right.
Italy and in Russia. So it
Yeah.
was something that I always thought about, and going into more of the business side was always something that interested me.
Sure.
So, in 2012, I finished my bachelor's degree in business administration
Nice.
from a university in Rome. And after that, though, for the next 3 years, between 2012 and 2015, I really worked in finance and accounting for
Mm.
a UN organization. Something totally different. That kind of was my first job in general. But over the last year, in around 2014, I kind of understood that this is not what I want to do. I
Right.
wanted to go back to sports. I want to go into sports management in general. I want to find myself a little bit there. So,
Right.
uh, via some connections and getting, networking and trying to get people to talk. And, I got myself involved with SS Lazio,
Nice.
which the entire sports organization. So I started in 2014 as my first gig in the sports industry was working under the SS Lazio baseball division. So
Mm.
the baseball division in Italy, baseball doesn't even exist in Italy. And somehow I'm here trying to, find new sponsors or trying to find new
Right.
opportunities
Yeah.
for baseball. And it was something new for me.
Yeah.
So, but I was grateful, because in the end, it was the first gig in the sports industry. So
Yeah.
for me, it was an opportunity to learn a bit more.
For sure.
Things were progressing, and, from baseball, moved into basketball, then moved into water polo, which was a first division team back in Italy, back in the time, and
Mm.
then got myself involved in football. Doors open as you're progressive, as you're bringing new initiatives, new projects, and such that were interesting for all stakeholders.
Right.
The good thing about it that definitely by 2015, I managed to open the door to SS Lazio, the football club. So
Yeah.
that was an interesting first glimpse into the football world.
Right.
But I wanted to learn more. I understood that, I could start where I am, but in Italy it might be a bit difficult starting
Yeah.
from literally like, the bottom. The sports industry is very closed, right? Everybody kind of knows each other, and especially in Italy, it felt like it's a difficult door to enter for a full-time job.
Yeah.
So I wanted to learn a bit more. Went in to do a master's program at Columbia University Sports Management Program in New York City.
Very nice.
That was a great opportunity because it opened for me a lot of different doors, which
Yeah.
I knew back then I couldn't open it myself. So
Right.
I did a 3 months period as a marketing athletics graduate manager at the Columbia Athletics Department. So that kind of,
Nice.
I learned a little bit about how athletics and just general college sports works in the
Right.
States.
Yeah.
And I focus a lot on the volleyball teams, on a bit of football and a bit of basketball. But then, once I got into States, I understood that I wanted something more and getting back to football. So my first, let's say, second gig of sorts, it was the New York Cosmos. New York Cosmos back then was a pretty popular football club back
Right.
in 2016. I worked in the sponsorship department, and I was kind of supporting back then the director of sponsorship with the Emirates sponsorship deal that they had on the front of the jersey.
Yeah.
So that was a great opportunity for me to learn a little bit about everything of
Yeah.
what's happening at a football club from all the way, all their kinds of operations. At the
Right.
same time, thanks to the collaboration with my university back in New York, FC Bayern Munich also kind of gave back then the students an opportunity to do some projects for them. So I was kind of like a marketing partnerships graduate consultant,
Yeah.
where we focus on providing different opportunities and kind of bringing new projects to the table and for their sponsors for their Audi Summer Tour 2016. So, when a football team comes to the States, they do usually they play, friendly matches in different parts of North America. And what we did is we focused a lot on activations for their sponsors. So back then it was, Audi, DHL. Those were the two big players that we had to focus about, and of course working with their brand ambassadors and legends of sorts. So it was quite interesting and a very interesting glimpse into how a European top club operates. And I think from then on, it was somehow, I wanted to continue that path of working in football. So luckily, I got myself involved with AS Roma back in 2016, where I was the global sponsorship coordinator. I started as that, focusing on sponsorship deals with a strong focus on North America. So back then, AS Roma was based out of Boston. We had a regional office in Boston. And so I was kind of going between New York and Boston at the time, focusing on a lot on the sponsorship aspect.
Right.
But and we focused a lot on the tour as well, because at the time AS Roma, at the same period when I started in April 2016, we were really planning around a summer tour as well. So I kind of took my know-how and my knowledge that I got from Bayern Munich, brought it to Roma, and that kind of helped me land my first, let's say, really full-time and paying job, because all these other opportunities were coming at at no cost for the employer. So that was really interesting. And the first 5 months, it was focusing on sponsorship. But then I understood that I wanted to learn a bit more than just sponsorship. So over the first 4 years at AS Roma, then I worked as a global brand development manager. So focusing on brand development, marketing, and event management. So I focused heavily on that front, between the summer tours that we did and all the kind of different projects that were happening, whether in North America or other parts of the world. So while the last 5 months where I stayed at AS Roma, I focused a lot on business development. So I was got a kind of like a promotion to become the global business and youth development program manager. So focusing on anything that goes with biz dev, finding new revenue streams, while also managing their special projects like youth development, which was football camps, football academies, the football school that they had in Rome, as well as esports division.
Nice.
So that was, all different kinds of special projects, as they call it, different new ways of finding new revenue streams. So that was a bit what I had to focus on. And then back in 2021 in the winter, I had an amazing opportunity to join a very, very big club in Europe, FC Zenit, as their strategic and business development director. So C-level position. At Zenit, it was kind of like a dream job in the end, working at a top European club, right? Overseeing 7 departments. So strategic department, strategic marketing, brand development, players marketing, stadium development, which means everything that happening on match days as well as non-match days. So making sure that out of the 330 days, right, we do something else, whether it's tours, whether it's concerts, whether it's ice hockey matches. So trying to fill up the stadium as much as possible. Then we have digital, which included the CRM team, as well as different special projects that happening. So 7 departments where, I had 38 employees in total. Wow. That was, kind of like an experience of a lifetime, in 1 year. And after the Zenit experience, I felt like it came the ideal time for me to create my own agency, right? So what I do today, I'm a sports business and marketing professional with experience now in football, esports, and volleyball in Europe and North America. So worked in the football industry specifically for 8 years, where most of the things that I really did out of those 8 years is really focus on strategic collaborations that drive value and access new business opportunities for my employer, right? So that's a little bit what I do, and that's a little bit what I do today at SPG Sports.
All right, I mean, like, thanks for going like so, vast into your experience here and the journey. I think you've been part of a lot of different things, and it's a very, I think I'm very glad as well you kind of brought up the whole how can I say, the non-paid experience, which is always important to bring up. I mean, like, I know it's a challenging journey and a tough journey as well, and when you're breaking in and you're trying to get as much experience, and the competition is high, and it's about grabbing the opportunity, right? And kind of like believing in, okay, if I provide the value, the opportunity is going to come for that full-time job or the paid opportunity, to take it to the next level. And sometimes, especially the young students and professionals, they sometimes think we're going to go right into like a leader job, or like, get full paid and benefits and all this good stuff. And, seeing a little bit how it's like, it's, we gotta say it how it is, because if not, it's going to be a shock for a lot of people. You can always discuss what is correct or not, but this is just the reality of what the industry is like. And when the competition is what it is, this is kind of like, what you have to adjust, and adapt accordingly.
Absolutely. It took me 2 years of my time to get someone to pay me for my services, just to give you an idea, right? And paying for an entire master's program in the States is not cheap.
Hey, I know. I did my master at University of San Francisco, so I know. But yeah. So let's talk a bit about your current role. Also, you kind of like segued a little bit into it. Obviously, you're CEO at SPG Sports, and talk a bit about, like, what is it all about? Some of your key responsibilities, and just kind of lay it out a little bit, kind of briefly.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, I am the, let's say, founder and CEO at SPG Sport. It's really a marketing and commercial sports agency where we focus a lot on business development for clubs, leagues, athletes, and brands. That's how we segment it a little bit, right? So as of today, over the last 7 months, 6-7 months of operations, truly, we started a little bit this year in 2022. We work within 2 specific industries, football and volleyball. that's what we specialize in at this moment of time.
Yeah.
We do also have, we are involved in esports in general, but our core business as of now is mostly volleyball and football. So we work with two athletes within the volleyball industry. One is from the French national team, and another one used to be in the US national team as well. We work with 6 clubs, 6 football clubs based all over the world. So, whether they are Serbian, Mexican, Slovenian, Nigerian. We started working with clubs as well that are based in Italy, all the way to Japan, all the way to Ghana, South Africa, and now moving into different new markets like the US, as well as Brazil. So, very diverse, very exciting, different, cultures as well.
Sure.
We work with a football league, which is the Latvian higher league. Okay, so they're very interesting and progressive as a client. They are definitely a client that I really like to work with because of their strong relationship with the Spanish La Liga. They sign an agreement with them in terms of really looking to build something much stronger within the league, and you can see that a lot from a business side. And then we work with brands as clients. We work with a digital marketplace that is based in New York. We work with different media platforms that are also based in the States. We work with agencies. We have people that we trust, specifically whether they are based in Singapore, they're based in Bangkok, Tokyo, who help us on the ground with different projects when we are, talking to these clubs or athletes or just different leagues in general. So if I have to really summarize what we do, like our objective is very simple. Like we try to maximize the ROI for our clients as well as reach their full potential. That's it. Very simple. So, what we specialize on is different things. Like mostly it's really just like 5 or 6 different things: international business development, partnership agreements, strategic collaborations, marketing, and anything that goes about, digital innovation as a whole. So, when we talk about helping the athletes or clubs or the league in general on new international business opportunities, it could be different projects. So if I have to go into detail, it would be something like strategic collaborations, like, between one club and the other. So, could be a French club with a club in India. They have a strategic collaboration where it could be focused a little bit more on the French club helping the Indian club with their technical sporting department, and as well as maybe, their marketing and business development, showcasing a little bit. So that could be an interesting, we see a lot of clubs working together all around the world. So we kind of help connect parties like that. We also focus on the commercial side, sponsorship partnerships. We focus on digital partnerships. We focus also a lot on education. So educational partnerships, trying to really connect universities with different clubs or different, entities within sports in general. We heavily at SPG Sports also focus a lot on CSR. So corporate social responsibility is something that, let's say, it plays a very big role within the organization. So we focus a lot on helping and working with our clients in terms of if they're into climate, making sure tackling climate change, sustainability, children empowerment, or youth development as a whole. We try to really personalize some of the projects that we do for our clients and make sure that we, do the entire project from A to Z. So we focus a lot also on institutional relations, trying to work, with different embassies or consulates in general, NGO partnerships, as well as just influencer collaborations. So we do a, kind of like a 360 in terms of focusing on mostly international business development as a whole. So, we when we work with a club or an athlete, we try to understand what are the strategic markets that he or she or the club needs to go to, and try to find different projects for them to do.
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I mean, like working with all these clubs and unions and different kind of stakeholders, like talk a little bit about like what are some of the key challenges you come across when it comes to business development for athletes, clubs, and brands. Like what are some common things or and common challenges that you've seen
Yeah.
working with them so far?
Um, I think some of the challenges are good things take time. That's
Yeah,
it. Like good things take time, and it is a process. It's not. It's it's a marathon basically. It's not that quickly that you can just uh, do a project, try to announce it on your LinkedIn, and you're good to go basically, and you have everybody's trust. And it's a little bit. It takes time to do any project, and you have to understand that everybody within the sports industry is very busy, whether it's especially athletes. Athletes
yeah,
have a very busy schedule, so you
right,
have to work around their schedule
yeah,
all the time, whether it's early in the morning, whether it's on the weekends, whether it's late at night or at night, especially. You have to work around their clock all the
right,
time.
yeah,
And I think when it comes to challenges is trust. Like trust is key. You will never if you don't have the trust of the athlete, of the club, or the executives who work at the club, um, your projects will just never happen. And you have to make sure that you show that you are competent in all the things that you do, especially as us, we're basically a startup, so we have
right,
to show that we know what we're talking about, we know what
yeah,
we're doing, making sure that the client or the potential new client trusts us,
yeah,
to make sure that when somebody is giving you access to their platforms and knowledge, or even their logo for you to use on your social media channels, it all comes to that. So
yeah,
that's definitely some of the challenges that, but I think that's within the sports industry in general.
right,
um because we are working with different stakeholders all around the world. We have clients from, whether it's Oakland all the way to New York, London, Rome, Berlin, Singapore, Tokyo. So cultural differences is
mhm,
definitely sometimes a factor, but you have
right,
to just embrace it. You
yeah,
embrace it. That's it. There's nothing else you can do. I mean, one morning you're going to talk to someone from Tokyo. That same day around lunchtime you talk to someone from Cape Town, and at nighttime you speak to an American guy who's based in Oakland. So
yeah,
you have to just embrace it. It's totally different.
okay,
The sports industry and how people are is just how it is. And one thing that if I have to kind of give an advice when it comes to
sure,
challenge, like you always have to always look out for your clients.
yeah,
Like that's a must. That's a must. Like you always have to bring them not only the best deals, but you always have to bring their interest. Like
mhm,
whatever their interests are becomes your
right,
interest, and that's how you build trust.
yeah,
So the most important is really don't add problems to them. They already have enough. Only bring solutions. That's it. Like now, don't do that. Like don't say I can't do this, I can't do that. This is too hard. Like they don't want to hear it, because they can go to any other agency,
yeah,
any other. Like there are so many agencies today that
oh
do
yeah,
very similar services, right? So
right,
in a way, you just have to make sure that your clients come first in anything, and that's why they should stay with you. So I think that's maybe some of the challenges. You always have to keep up making sure that your clients are happy and satisfied with some of the things that you're doing for them and providing for them. So
right. Yeah,
that's
makes total sense, and I mean, like just speaking about like just cultural differences too, what you touch upon too is I think it's now more than ever in the industry, the sport industry as well. I mean, like obviously it's a small industry, but as you were saying, like everyone knows each other, so it kind of like brings that global aspect too, which is sort of like a nice thing and a bad thing and so forth. Nice
yeah,
thing being that everyone has like a common kind of something that they can relate to, which obviously brings a lot of great relationships from it. But then also it's just a very different kind of situation, right? And different kind of the way you live your life, the way business is done. It's just adapting to that kind of culture as well. It's not just about how what the culture is like living there or or being part of that community, but also just the business culture, right? Which is, I know, a difference in, US, Europe, Asia, and it's all a different way to do it. But at the same time, like at the end of the day, they're all people. If you treat people with respect and you provide value, I think you can come a long way.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think right now, I've worked just in general between AS Roma and Zenit
Yeah.
with the Middle East in general, especially Qatar.
Right.
So, coming here, it's an entire experience, and you just have to embrace it, embrace the culture, embrace the people, embrace
Right.
the way of working and how they do things,
Yeah.
and it's gonna be make your life much easier. Definitely don't implement your way of thinking and doing
Right.
things, because that's a little bit not the case.
So we're about to kind of starting to wrap up a little bit here, and I wanted to talk about two key things. One is, what are some of the, I guess, new trends that you foresee in the coming years based on the key insights that you learned, both with SPG Sports and the other initiatives you've been part of? What are some things that you see?
Yeah, I think I'll divide it into two, like between athletes and clubs.
Yep.
I'll start with the athlete. Athletes is definitely having more active voice off the field. We've seen it over the last, I want to say, 5 to 7 years,
Right.
especially in North America, but now it's starting to happen also in Europe, where athletes will be focusing a lot on their brand. So
Right.
athletes are doing their merchandising,
Yep.
line production. They're more into gaming, or they actually they do a lot of CSR projects. They start doing maybe even children's camp, kind of empowering the children, or other business opportunities. But I think what's even more interesting is that we're going to see a trend where the athletes become shareholders of companies, of teams, of different clubs.
No,
When it comes to the clubs and leagues, I think one main trend is like giving their fans a voice. So whether it's fan tokens via socials, but I think that's the trend that we're looking at. Like, fans will have a bigger role within the industry and within their specific, whether it's a football club, whether it's an esports team, whether it's any kind. Even when we see it with clubs, but we might see some of the bigger athletes also use the platform of giving their fans that kind of access.
But I think it goes back to like something that has been probably hyped for a lot of years now, but really haven't really been, I guess, utilized or how can I say, nurtured in the best possible way. It's essentially community, right? I mean, like,
right,
brands and clubs are very happy to bring up the community word without not always really having a proper community. And I think this is probably a very key factor now moving forward, and part of that as well of involving their fans, right, is kind of like strengthen their community. I think traditional sports has a lot to learn from the esports scene and that side of the table with streamers and content creators and the way how they're building community and utilizing that kind of angle or approach as well to engage their community as well, because at the end of the day we're all fighting for time and eyes and ears, and it's big competition these days in terms of attention, and feeling that you're part of something, right? Which I think is why we see much more niche specific solutions, much more those kind of community based and fan supportive initiatives, because at the end of the day people want to have a lot to deal with, and they want to spend their time on things that brings them value at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more, for sure.
So to kind of wrap things up here, I just wanted to kind of finish up with like what are some obviously you mentioned a few advice already, but if you wanted to kind of summarize or highlight a few key tips and advice that you have for students out there looking to get their foot into the door, maybe working for a club or with athletes or brands like that, like what are some final key tips you would give them?
Yeah, so I think the first one, I will just kind of repeat myself. I think if you have zero experience like I did back in 2014, provide your services for free. I'm just saying, like, just try to get your foot in the door, because it's a very, very competitive market.
Yeah.
Very difficult. You will have, a lot of different experts that will even work for free for some brands, just because they can say, I work with that company, or I work with that club, or I work with that athlete.
Right.
Just saying, my experience with SS Lazio, with FC Bayern Munich, with Columbia Athletics, with New York Cosmos, that's 4 different, companies and entities I work with for free.
Yeah.
That landed me my job after at AS Roma, which
Right.
took also a lot of time, a lot of effort, working on weekends, working during, 4th of July. Like that doesn't, you're always working, because you don't work on Italian holidays, you don't work on American holidays. So you just work on the clock. I think, like, most importantly, when you're a student as well, and you're really just starting, you have to understand that the person that you work with, like their manager or the director or the VP, whoever he or she is within the, a sports entity in general, they don't want problems. They already have enough problems. Just bring solutions. Like, you have to have the mindset, or you are the problem solver. And then you will stand out from the crowd right away. No joke. Like, if you have that mindset from day one, where you are just solving their problem and making their life easier, that's it. You're set. Like, you're gonna be there for as much time as you want, and you will stand out from the rest of the people, right? Because that's just how the way it is. And I think, going back to, like, maybe, like, to talk about the CV in general, I think that's important, because sometimes, SPG Sports also hires, whether it's interns or coordinators or managers, like, instead of focusing on things that you have already done, focus on the things you have achieved so far. Like, that's the most important. Use data, like, use percentages, use numbers. Like, just to give you an example, do not say to me, I supported or helped the marketing department with the operations of a football camp in somewhere around the world. It doesn't mean anything to me, right? It's just a sentence. But if you say to me, I supported in a, let's say, 20% increase in revenue for all football camp operations over the last year, that's something that I can use and say, okay, wow, 20%. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't matter how big the number is, but the fact that you're more analytical, you like use data and numbers, I think that's where you differentiate yourself in your CV as well. Because believe me, like, for the students, when starting off, clubs, leagues, or just in general sports entities, agencies receive so many emails, even from, like, people that have 5, 7, 10 years of experience within the industry, who would kill to continue working in the sports industry, who would kill to work with different athletes around the world. So you have to really bring something and start small. Like, nobody, it's a marathon. Like, you take your time thinking about what is the best way to approach someone. Do your homework beforehand and try to connect the dots. I think that's important. Like, that's what I do every single day. Try to understand what that party needs, what they want, how they operate a little bit, how the way they think. Try to connect the dots, bring them solutions, bring them new ideas, fresh ideas, and you'll be golden.
Absolutely. Well, that's perfect, Alex. And with that, I would like to thank you, for taking the time, for sharing your tips, your insights, some upcoming trends, about your journey, and a lot of the things that are happening in the industry. We really appreciate it. And for those of you that have been in all the way at the end, make sure to like the video, subscribe as well, so you get weekly tips every week, from leaders like Alex. And of course, if you haven't already, sign up at sportinglevel.com, connect with Alex, and make sure to build your way into the sport industry, finding courses, finding relevant job opportunities, fine tune that resume, and start getting a career in the sport industry. Alex, I have one last thing I have to ask you, or I mean, like, it's not really much of an ask. You kind of have to, it's, it's like a tradition at this point. So we have a podcast tradition that we do, and I have to teach you a little bit Norwegian.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Cool. So with every video we do, we always finish with "Vi snakkes," which means "see you later" in Norwegian. So that's what you have to say.
Vi snakkes.
There you go. Great job. Easy.
Amazing. Easy,
All
very
right.
easy.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Alex.
so much. Really appreciate it.
Of course, we'll talk very soon.
Talk soon. Bye.
Bye.